Here's the template you get when you start SongMaker. To start, we need to change some settings. We click on Settings. We only need to make 2 changes to the original template. We will change the number of bars from 2 to 4. And we'll change the range from 2 to 1 octaves. Now we are done with the settings. Let's click on the check mark. Just 2 more things before we can begin writing the music. One of them is the tempo. Reggaeton usually has a tempo of around 180 beats per minute, or BPMs. We will drag the tempo slider up to 180 BPMs. The very last thing we have to do is to change the sounds. We want to change the marimba sound to a piano sound, so we'll click on the marimba icon once. Now we have a piano sound. We also want to change the drum sounds. We want to go from the electronic drum machine sound to the kit sound, so we'll click on that icon 2 times. Okay, now we're done with the settings. Now we'll begin writing the drum part. The first thing we have to do is to add a bass drum on beats 1 and 4 of each measure. Beat 1 is here, so we'll add a bass drum. And here is beat 3, so we'll add another bass drum. We'll do the same thing for beats 1 and 3 of the second measure. Beat 1 of the second measure, and beat 3 of the second measure. Now we have to add the snare drums. We'll add 2 snare drums per measure. One on the second half of beat 2, and one on beat 4. We'll do the same thing for measure 2. A snare drum on the second 8th note of beat 2, and another one on beat 4. Okay, now we're done with the rhythm. Let's give it a listen. The next part is to add some roots. Roots are notes on top of which we build chords. We want to have 2 different roots, one for each measure. Since I want to write the reggaeton in the minor mode, my first root will be the note A, or La, or the kind of purple-blue color note. This is note number 6 from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the note I want. I want an A on the first beat, another one on the second half of beat 2, and another one on beat 4. Now we have to choose another root for the second chord, the one on the second measure. You could actually choose any other note. I will choose the orange note D, or Re. That is the second note from the bottom. I want the chords in this measure to follow the same rhythm. So to this D on beat 1, I'll add another one on the second half of beat 2, and another one on beat 4. And now we have our roots. Now we'll build chords on top of our roots. Before we do that, we have to change the settings again. We'll click on Settings, and we'll change the range from 1 to 2 octaves. We click on the check mark, and now we have 2 octaves to work with. To build chords, we have to add 2 notes to each root. On top of each root, we will leave an empty note, and we'll click on the note above that. Here's our first root. Here's an empty note. And here's the note above that. And we'll do that again. Empty note and one more note. Now we have our first chord. It's called A minor. We'll do the exact same thing to the other two A notes. To build a chord on top of the note D, we'll do exactly as we did before. We will click twice on every other note. Now we have our second chord. It's called D minor. We'll also do that for each root. Let's listen to our chords. The very last thing we want to do is to create inversions of a chord. Inversions are chords which have notes other than the root at the bottom. We want to move these high notes down below. I also want to move these red notes down below. The goal here is to have all our chord notes on the lower half of the screen, so we have the upper part of our screen free to make our melody. To make our melody, we can use a technique called chord tone melody. To start, we want to fill every note of each measure with all the chord tones in that measure. In measure 1, we have the notes C, E, and A, or the red, yellow, or blue notes. So we will fill the whole upper part with those notes. Here's the red note C, so we will fill the whole measure with C's. Another chord tone is E, so I'll fill the whole measure with E's. And the last chord tone is A. We'll do the same thing for the second chord, D, or for the second part of our measure. We have the note D, so we'll fill the measure with D's. We also have the note F, so we'll fill this measure with F's. And finally, again, the note A. Now we ended up with two parts in our note section. The lower part, or the chords, and they will remain as they are. We'll not touch them. We will only work with the upper part, which is where the melody will be. What we want to do in the upper part is leave only one of the three notes. So for each group of three chord tones, we will eliminate two. You can choose any combination you want. If you follow the rules, the melody will always work. So what I'm doing here is just deleting two notes out of each group of three and just leaving one. And this is completely improvised. I don't know what this will sound like until I press play at the end. Okay. I'm going to erase blue and red, and here I'm going to erase yellow and blue. You're completely free here. If you want to repeat notes, like here I have 3 consecutive orange notes, that's no problem at all. Let's give our melody a listen. We're almost done here. There's just one last thing that melodies usually have, and that is pauses or rests, so that we have a feeling of different phrases. I want to create some pauses in the melody, so I will take one or two additional notes from each measure to create some rests. Okay, so here I can take out this one, and here I'll take out this one and this one. I'm improvising completely here. And this is how you create a reggaeton in SongMaker.